Hey, it's LSFT here today, and today I'm here to talk about the NX350. Yes, the NX350. So when I brought my NX450h Plus to the dealership to get winter tires installed, they gave me a loaner, the NX350, with about 15,000 kilometers or about 10,000 miles. And it was almost time for the vehicle to get the first oil change according to the service manual. And I know many of you have already done your first oil change early, and that's why I've positioned it this way. So in this video, I will be providing my views of the NX350 as a NX450h Plus owner. So this is not the first Lexus Turbo I've driven. I know how the previous generation NX drives, as I've actually owned two NXs with the 2-liter turbo. So the first reaction when I went into the vehicle was, it looks very familiar. But then the 9.8-inch screen looks different. I personally preferred the 14-inch screen, as there is a lot more piano black plastic that is around the screen on the 9.8-inch screen. This one looks like it was just added after the fact, so that it can keep the similar design language to the 14-inch panel. I have noticed that the layout of the Lexus interface is very similar, but there are some differences, since the screen is more of a squarish type and not a wider design of the 14-inch. I would say that the 9.8-inch screen is a good size, but when you are used to the larger size, it is actually hard to go back to the smaller one. But then, if you look at the size, it's actually quite decent, because on my last NX that I've owned, which is the 2018 NX, we had a widescreen 10.1 inch, I believe, and it was a widescreen. That was a decent size, but this 9.8 isn't too far from it, and all base models actually get this 9.8 inch, versus in the previous generation, the upgrade was actually the 10 inch and not the 8 inch. So I think that's a good step up if you actually had the 8 inch compared to now the 9.8 inch. One thing I would say is the biggest difference would be the powertrain and how it actually performs. So the first reaction of the NX350 was that it's a bit noisy. From a 450h Plus owner perspective, driving EV only with near to silent operation and you only hear a little bit of the electric sound, the 350 is noisy. But when you compare it to hybrid mode on the 450, the 350 and the 450h seems similar. The 450 would rev high to get the max output of the engine when you floor it, and that would cause the similar growling sound. And I would say that both vehicles are having 4-cylinder engines. It's just not as refined as it could. Really hope that Lexus can continuously improve this engine, because they're using it across the board. And I think that if you really need the performance and you floor the vehicle, it just doesn't sound as luxury as it should. However, if you're driving normally and you don't floor it, the car isn't as noisy as it's shown in this video. Cruising speeds seems to be very similar in the noise. But one thing that I have noticed is I continuously do hear the engine on the 350 versus when I'm driving the 450. I sometimes don't even notice that the engine was actually turned on, unless I actually rev the vehicle into the power zone of the hybrid meter. That's when I start hearing the engine noise. And when the engine has actually been broken in more, meaning I've been driving more on hybrid mode, I've also noticed that the engine has now toned down itself. It's not as noisy as before. But I'm not sure if that is related to I'm used to it, or that the engine is now running more smoother after running like over the times of running it, because originally when you drive a plug-in hybrid, you most likely would be using electric mode a lot of the time, and the engine hasn't actually been broken in, even if you've driven like 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers. So it really depends on how much of that engine you use, so that all the friction and all the stuff within the engine has now smoothened out. And also, one thing to keep in mind, this NX350 I've driven is at 15,000 kilometers, which is very close to an oil change. And it's a rental vehicle. People probably would be abusing it, so it may not be as, I would say, good as a real owner owning an NX350. And then when you talk about performance, I do feel the 275 horsepower. It's powerful, but the car doesn't feel as solid as the 450h Plus. And I think this is related to the weight of the vehicles. The NX350, the curb weight is really 1,760 kilograms, and the 450h is 1,990 kilograms. So meaning the 450h is about 230 kilograms heavier than the 350. And the biggest difference, I would say, is the center of gravity. The additional weight is actually added onto the bottom of the vehicle where the battery is being stored, giving it a lower center of gravity and really giving it a little bit more confidence. So when I drive my 450h Plus and really flooring it, it produces the 302 horsepower, but it does feel that it's very confident, it stays on the road, and it keeps you pushing forward. Whereas the 350, on the other hand, it feels that I feel the engine pushing me forward, but then it feels like I'm having a little bit of a lift off. I'm feeling the car is light, and it's actually really starting to fly high because of the less weight. The 450h definitely feels faster than the 350. On paper, the 350 is roughly 0.6 seconds slower to 60, but many reviewers have tested both vehicles and have seen that it can be about a 1 second difference. One thing you would notice is the turbo lag, and that could be one reason. You floor the pedal, and it does take a few seconds for you to feel the turbo kicking in, and then at that point it is pushing towards the 275 horsepower. Whereas on the 450h Plus, because of the electric motors, there's really no lag. The instant torque pushes the vehicle forward first, and then the engine kicks in and provides the remaining 302 horsepowers quickly afterwards. Although both vehicles are very similar in the outside, in the inside, when you're driving, it does feel very different. This video is not to downplay the 350, but really to get a different perspective of the two models. Lexus has done a great job in making the two models very different. The powertrain really changes the overall experience, and I think it depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a powerful vehicle that has the engine noise, or you're looking for a very quiet drive and producing near to zero emissions when you're driving on electric only? When I look at the dash, you would see that it's not that big of a difference. I'm going through the modes of the Sport, Eco, and all that, and just trying to see the meters if there's anything different. And I would say there's not that big of a difference between the two models. One thing you need to keep in mind that this 350 is also an F Sport, so it also has the power like the performance dampers, and it also has the S Plus mode. And the only difference I would see is it shows the temperature of the engine on the left side, whereas in the 450 it shows the battery. And there's no EV distance to empty, but other than that, everything seems to be similar in both the two vehicles. If you look at a 350, which is not an F Sport, then you will not see the S Plus, which is like this type of gauge. But overall, they're very similar. Not that big of a difference between the two. And this version does not have the wireless charger. And again, unless they fix the wireless charger, you probably don't really need it. And also the ambient lighting, this is a single colored ambient lighting, because this is an F Sport 1, which does not have all the bells and whistles. But when you think about it, I changed my ambient lighting to orange, and after that, I have not changed it afterwards. So a single color may just be fine for most of you. And when you look at all the controls, and you can see the Sport pedals, everything seems to be very similar to the 450, which is way more expensive than this model. So when you look at it, if you really want an NX experience, this is actually not a bad experience, because it's not that different from the more expensive 450h Plus. The only difference is fuel economy and really the driving experience in some ways. So when you change it to reverse or drive, you also have the same experience where the ambient lighting will dim, and when you actually go back to park, it will actually brighten back up. So all the functionality is very similar. Many of you who subscribe into my channel probably bump into one of my tutorial videos, and I'm going through all the menus in the Lexus interface to see if there's anything different between the 350 and the 450. And one thing I did notice is that the 350 has a stop and go system, right? It's I've actually never seen it going stopping really, but you can see here under the utility there is a start and stop duration, and it has standard and extended as options. I don't know what that really means, but I actually haven't seen it stop, so I know some people don't like it. Probably they would have actually went and removed or turned that off when they actually use when they actually turn on the 350. As I said, this is a rental car, and it's interesting that there is actually a software update, and that update has been since March, and it was November when I recorded this, and they actually haven't updated it. So you can see how much they really care about the updates and this vehicle itself. So one of the big differences between the 350 and the 450 is one has an 8-speed automatic versus a eCVT. And you can see here there's a gear position. I actually was showing you that it can actually get to the 6th gear around 70 kilometers, and it's actually quite cool to see that when it actually shifts. You can actually feel the shifts if you really wanted to know that, but overall this is one display that I have not seen in the 450. And now you can see that I'm on the 7th gear right now. One additional thing that we do not see on a hybrid, the 350h and the 450h Plus, is this battery charging. This is where we have the stop and go system, and when it doesn't stop, what it actually does is it tries to charge that 12-volt battery so that it can actually stop the engine and still power your accessories when needed, when it can actually power off the engine. But one thing I've noticed is, I don't know is it because of it's a rental vehicle or what it is, but I really haven't seen that engine turning off at a stoplight. And I continuously see this battery charging message rather than it actually working. So to conclude, again, I'm not making this video to downplay the gas-only version of the NX. Overall, it's a great vehicle, especially if you're looking at changing your first-gen NX. The car is quieter than the first gen, and it's actually more powerful as well. It's actually not a bad vehicle, and it just feels different. At first, when I put my name onto the NX450h Plus list, I didn't know how much it would cost. And when I knew how much it would cost, it was a little bit shocking, because I thought it would have been just 10 to 15k more than the first gen NX. But when I knew the price, I really debated on, should I actually change my name and put it on the 350h or the 350? Because when I got my NX, I didn't get the $5,000 Canadian rebate, so the 450h Plus was about 90k on the road, whereas the 350 that I drove in this video is about 71k on the road. So the question is it really worth the difference, the 19k difference? In the 2023 model, we actually get the rebate if you buy it today, so it's about 85k, and the difference will now be 14k difference. So for sure, you wouldn't able to recoup the price difference in fuel savings. But in my opinion, if you're lucky enough to pick one up, I would still go with the 450h Plus. The driving experience is just different, and the confidence you get in the differences between the two are totally worth it. And keep in mind that the 19k or the 14k difference also includes the extra things that this NX does not include, which is like the 14-inch infotainment screen, the wireless charger, which is quite useless, the ambient lighting, the digital rearview mirror. There's a lot of other features, even like parking sensors and like other features that this vehicle just does not have. But on the other hand, if you're leasing and need a new car, and you can't wait right now, I think the 2-year time frame, the NX350 is a great option, because you can always change to another model a few years down the road. And maybe what you can also do is lease the 350 for 3 years and then put your name on the 450h Plus list. By the time this lease ends, you probably will be able to get the 450h Plus. Anyways, I hope this video is informative and gives you some insights of what I feel this 350 comparing to my 450h Plus. I can definitely tell you both are excellent vehicles to own, but it's just your preference and what do you want to drive. Some people would like to have loud engine noise, feeling that you're driving fast, whereas some others are looking at fuel efficiency, great power, and near to zero noise when driving. Until next time, thanks for watching, and remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It does help me and the channel with the YouTube algorithms. Thank you, and I'll talk to you again next time. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please comment, like, and share this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that alert button to get notified when new videos are posted. If you'd like to support the channel, you can definitely provide a super thanks. I'll see you guys again next time in the next video.